Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about scoring, just like I promised. Now, remember that kind of the main goal in bridge is to score the most points you can score every hand you play. That's what we'd like to do. And, I do like to win, but I always have fun when I play, regardless of whether I win or not. And a lot of times, what you'll find when you're playing bridge, because you won't win every single time. So, my goal is kind of to play a little bit better every time I play. I want to improve. I want to have, you know, do just a bit better. Don't make mistakes that again and again and again. I like to learn from them. You're going to make mistakes in bridge. That always happens. Your goal in general is to try and lessen the number of mistakes you make every time you play. You just get a little bit better every single time. So, primary goal in bridge is for your partnership to win the largest number of points possible on every hand you play. Doesn't necessarily mean the most tricks, it's the biggest score. The declarer's goal, now remember, that's the person of the partnership that either got to name trumps or decide to play a no trump. They promised at a minimum to take a specific number of tricks. We call that the contract. Their goal is to take at least that many tricks. More is just better. The defender's goal is to keep the declarer from winning those tricks. We call that setting the declarer, or sometimes you'll hear that someone say the declarer went down. That's what they're talking about. So the defenders are trying to keep the declarer from winning the number of tricks they committed to win. Only one partnership wins points on each hand. So, how to decide what contract to play, that comes in the bidding. Remember, I told you that we shuffle the cards, we sort them, we look at our point, we look at our hand, and then bidding happens. Well, that bidding is a code. It's a conversation that you and your partner use to communicate during the auction. And there's two things you're always trying to tell partner. The length, your length, what your distribution of your hand is, how many cards you hold in certain suits, and your strength, how many of those honor cards you hold, those aces, kings, queens, and jacks. You tell your partner about your distribution by the suit you choose to bid or by no trump. But how can you tell them about your strength? How can you tell partner what your strength is? We're going to have to look at that, aren't we? Now remember, two types of points you can get. Trick points. So that's a certain number of points for each trick you win after those first six. Remember, anytime you commit to win a specific number of tricks, it's always six plus the number that you bid. Those six tricks are called book. And some kind of bonus. Best thing in the world about bridge is we always get a bonus. If we're successful, we're going to get some kind of bonus. The defenders can only win one type of points, and that's the points they win for keeping declarer from winning the number of tricks he committed for. Trick points, those are ones declarer can win, are earned for every trick taken over book if declarer is successful in winning the number of tricks he committed to. So for majors, he can get 30 points for every trick in a major suit above those first six. In no trump, a little squirrely, 40 points for the first trick, 30 points for tricks after that. And minors, only 20 points. So it's pretty easy to determine that, isn't it? Would you rather play with hearts or spades as trumps or diamonds or clubs? Well, you're going to get more points for every trick you win if you play with the major suit. So pretty easy to decide you would choose majors if that makes sense. Now, it looks like no trump is even a little bit better deal than that, right? But didn't you win more tricks when you had a trump suit? So, typically, if you have a trump contract, you will win more tricks than you will in a no trump contract. So that kind of outweighs playing in no trump. There is a priority of contracts to maximize your score, to get the most points that you can win every time you play. Majors is the first thing we look for. We look for, do we have a fit in a major suit? Remember a fit. How many cards is that in a major suit between your two hands? 8. 8 cards is a fit. So the first thing that we're going to look for is, do we have 8 hearts or spades between our two hands? If we don't have an 8-card major fit, then we look to say, well, could we play no trump? Do we have some big cards kind of in all the suits or length in all the suits? We don't have an 8-card major fit. Doesn't look like we ought to be playing no trump. Minors, that's our last choice. Minors is always kind of the bottom of the barrel. That's the last contract that we would like to play, but sometimes we have to. Majors, no trump, minors. That's your concentration in your bidding. That's always what you're looking for. So I'd like you to look at the hands 9, 10, 11, and 12 on page 9 of your book. And what I'd like you to do is just look at the two hands. I gave you a north hand and a south hand. And what I want you to do is determine where you think you would like to play. Would you like to play in a major suit contract? What suits are those? Hearts or spades, right? Or would you prefer to play in no trump? Nothing, just high card wins, or minors. So take a look. We're going to give you about, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. Work with your table. Y'all discuss it. And come up with where you think that you ought to play. See you back in a minute to review. All right, here we go. So on number 9, what did you choose? I would choose spades. Whoops, excuse me. We have 8 spades. I like that we have an 8-card major fit. That's where I want to play. What about hand 10? Well, majors first. Well, we don't have a fit in hearts and we don't have a fit in spades. We only have 6 hearts, only 5 spades. Those are out. What about no trump? Well, kind of. We don't have anything in spades. No high cards. So they get to win a lot of spades if we played in no trump. Diamonds aren't great. Well, clubs. We've got 10 clubs between our two hands. It seems that that's where we ought to play. So kind of reluctantly, I'll say, okay, I know that's not going to score as well as some of the other contracts do, but that's the safe contract. That's probably where I should be. Probably chose clubs. 11. Again, we look at majors first, right? Do we have 8 spades? No. Don't have a fit in spades. We have 8 hearts? No. Can't play with the major suited trumps, or shouldn't. I mean, you can always do whatever you want to, but it's not a good idea unless you have a fit. All right, well, what about no trump? Well, we've got some high cards in spades, and we've got good clubs, we've got good diamonds. Our hearts aren't wonderful. But in that diamond suit, once the ace of diamonds has been played, my king, my diamonds are going to be winners. So this is a hand where experienced bridge players, people who kind of know how hands work well opposite each other, might choose to play no trump. They might just hope that they can win enough tricks to make no trump before the opponents can take enough tricks to set them. Newer players would probably prefer diamonds. That's very safe. It's comfortable. We're pretty sure we're going to win at least 8 tricks playing diamonds. So, that sounds good. If you chose no trump, that's going to be a little risky. That's going for those points. If you chose diamonds, that's a very safe contract, and you're pretty sure you're going to go get some points. And number 12. Well, first thing I look for is majors. I don't have 8 spades between our two hands, but we've got 8 hearts. I'm going to play with hearts as trumps. Notice what I did on all 4 of those hands. What did we do? Our best scoring is majors, so we looked at hearts and spades first. And if we had an 8-card fit in hearts or spades, we were done. We didn't even need to look any further. We had found our fit. We were going to play with the major. We didn't have 8 cards in either hearts or spades. The next thing we did is we looked for no trump, right? And if we found no trump, we were kind of done with that. The last thing we looked at, the last option for us to play a contract was a minor suit. Majors, no trump. Minors is our last resort. Hope y'all did well on that. So, why would you ever risk going higher? I mean, you looked at those hands and you only have to win 6. You only have to win 1 over 6. So why would you ever think I'd like to go higher? There's a reason. They wanted to make the game more interesting. The people that invented it, it wouldn't be much fun if everyone stayed really low, right? I mean, think about the hands that you've played even just so far. Everybody at least got to take 3 or 4 tricks, right? We need to make it more exciting. So what they did is they decided that they would award those bonus points, the points you get for just making your contract. And the larger risk you took, the larger bonus you would earn. If you just took a small risk, you got a small bonus. So that made the game more interesting. When we start looking at it, when you're thinking about your bonuses, your trick score always stays the same. 30 points for a major, 20 points a minor contract, and then 40 for the first trick and 30 after that for no trump. That doesn't change. No matter how high or how low you bid, you get that trick score. What changes is your bonus. Okay? Bonus points are earned for winning the number of tricks contracted for by the declarer's partnership. The declarer's partnership is the only one that can get those bonus points. And these points are based on the level of the contract. How big a risk did you take? If you stayed low, and we're going to talk about what those levels are in a minute, but just know that if you stay low, we call that part score. That's just the name we gave it. And your bonus is just 50 points. It's a little tiny bonus. But if you're willing to bid higher, what we call the game level, and I'm going to tell you what those are in just a minute, your bonus is 300 points. If you're willing to take a big risk, bid slam is what it's called. That means you took 12 tricks. Look at that bonus, 800 points. Now that's worth having, isn't it? And how often do you think you're going to take 12 out of 13? Not going to happen very often, is it? And if you're willing to take all 13, we call that a grand slam, 1,300 points. That doesn't happen very often at all. Most of the decisions you'll make at your starting level, okay, just in your beginning bridge career, are going to be between part score and game. Am I going to stay low and safe and get my 50 points? Or am I going to risk going higher for the 300 point bonus? Okay. Well, let's look at it. Bidding to that game level. You can only win the game bonus if you risk bidding to a higher level. And the level needed depends on the contract. What suit is trumps or you in no trump? If you're playing with a major suit as trumps, you have to commit to win 10 tricks. You have to bid to the 4 level. If you're playing in no trump, you have to commit to the 3 level. You have to say you'll win 9 tricks. And in minors, you have to say that you will win 11 tricks. Anything below those levels is part score. So if you say that we're going to take 8 tricks with hearts as trumps, but you win 10, still don't get that game bonus, that big bonus. You want that game bonus, you have to take the risk. You have to bid higher. So hard score, anything below that game level in any of those suits. So the strategy of the game, every hand you play involves a strategic decision of what to play. Are we going to play with major suit as trumps, minor suit, or no trump? Majors, no trump, minors, remember, and how many tricks you're going to commit to win. If you're willing to commit to a high level, large number of tricks, you can get a bigger bonus. You stay low, you're going to get a small bonus. You still get your trick score no matter what. You must always take at least the number you committed for, 6 plus the number you bid, in order to win any points at all if you are declared. So let's play some hands. I want you to be thinking about where you want to play, and I want you to be thinking about how many tricks you think you might have been able to win. Was this hand that you're playing one that you wanted to stay low, or one you thought you could win more? Right. See you back in a minute. All right, so next week we're going to be talking about where to play, which is decided by, do you have a fit? Remember, the fit is 8 cards in one suit between your two hands. And your trick point score, that always influences it. Major, no trump minor. That's all about trying to get the best trick point score we can. How high to play is decided by the strength of your hand. How many of those honor cards you and partner hold between your two hands. And the contract, where you've decided to play. So how can I tell partner about my strength? How do I get that message across? We're going to talk about that next week. So I'll see you then.